Hello, welcome to my series on the history of Christianity and its mission. My own reflection on this. I will start sharing my comments. So we will be starting with Council of Nicaea today, Synodostes, Nicaeus, Council of Nicaea. 1700 years ago, the first council came together as bishops in a place called Nicaea. So we'll have a little bit an introduction to that, particularly from a perspective why this year it is much more important to celebrate the Council of Nicaea. So the content for this session is to introduce the Nicaea Council, who, how, where, and what happened, and why we should look at a little bit about Nicaea Creed and the documents. Why celebrate this year? So we look at the Council of Nicaea, convened in 325 Christian era, stands as one of the most pivotal events in the early history of Christianity. It was the first ecumenical council of the Christian Church, summoned by the Emperor Constantine the Great in the city of Nicaea, which is now known as Iznik in Turkey today, maybe differently pronounced Iznik. It's good to see the image or statue of Constantine here. And I like to show some pictures of the background of the city, Nicaea, and one of the Orthodox Pope is visiting the place, Nicaean place. It is in ruins. And so we don't exactly have the spot on the place or even the building where the council has gathered first time. But we do have a place which is a mosque for the second Nicene Council that has happened. We'll look at it later. So in the early 4th century, Christianity was emerging from centuries of persecution. The conversion of Constantine and the Edict of Milan, 313 CE, which granted religious tolerance to Christians, marked a turning point as Christianity gained imperial favor. Internal divisions, especially over the nature of Christ, became more visible and problematic for the cohesion of the empire. It's very interesting because it says the Constantine, his mother was a Christian, and he, as an emperor, had a vision that replaced the eagle with the cross, and he won a war and he became a Christian, and he declared Christianity as the religion of the Roman Empire. And there comes all the changes. And as he was bringing the empire under a Christendom, one body under the control of Roman Empire, he was very careful not any theological division or any of the division in Christology would bring the empire down with a division between Christian leaders. So this is one of the reasons that he brought the council, one of the reasons, not many reasons, he brought the council together. So here we are, we can see the main ruins of the first council and its background places, and the entrance of Nicaea here. The main theological issue at stake was Arianism, which argued that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, was not co-eternal with the Father, but rather a created being who was subordinate to God. Arius' teaching found both support and opposition among bishops and theologians, leading to widespread conflict. To resolve this and to promote unity, Constantine invited bishops across the Roman Empire to gather in Nicaea. Over 300 bishops attended, representing the diverse geographical and theological breadth of the church. You could see the mosque where the second Nicene council has happened. Now it's a mosque, and I will also show some inside pictures there. And many people try to portray in pictures as well as in drawings the first Nicene Council and the Nicene Creed. So these are some of the pictures that we have drawn a bit earlier in centuries. So we do have the second Nicene Council happened in this place, in this mosque. It's now a mosque in Turkey, Iznik, where you could see the art of those early days of Byzantine and other arts were left there in the mosque. This is quite interesting to see the place where Nicene first and the second council as would have happened. So this is the earliest Greek writing of the Nicene Creed we have. It comes in early 4th, 5th century, the documents, and then being developed into Latin. And then we also have the corresponding art pictures of how the Nicene bishops came together. It's also quite interesting. Constantine actually denied more than 700 bishops to come there. Only 300 bishops he qualified, others were disqualified. And then he came to Nicaea of those 300, and even among some voted in favor of Arius. That's very interesting. So that is the earliest writing, which you have it here, this manuscript that we have got from Nicaea. So this is the Nicene Creed. Is this a movement or an institutionalization of Christian faith? So we have this tension within the Christianity now arising because it was a movement that was persecuted from all sides, Jews, Roman Empire, and now Constantine declares it as a movement that can be accommodated within empire. And then he declares that this movement, Christian faith, is the official faith of Roman Empire. So now the whole Christianity has moved from a persecuted movement to a political affiliated institution. Even before that, it was an institution because there were popes. Even Alexander of Alexandria was the bishop of Alexandria, and he was also called the Pope of Alexandria. And already because of the conversion and the kind of establishment, the Christianity as a movement has become, by that time, an institution where authority, power, consolidating the faith, making an official statement for their faith and religion, all have become part of that institutionalization, where you get the process, structure, and authority and power established well. But then Christianity was trying to be a movement as well, a movement that could reach out to many people across the world, rather than an institutionalized religion. Because the Romans had an institutionalized religion, which was replaced by Christianity. And then the power and the religion went along with each other. That's what the Christendom is all about. And during that movement, that religious diversities and the differences were very often eliminated by pointing them as heresies. Of course, the Arius was completely radical against the Christian faith, which was evolving to be Trinitarian. And the word he was struggling with, homoousis, which is the as similar to the Father, consubstantiation with the Father. It's in substance similar to the Father's. So the whole argument about Jesus being created as his divine elements were there, but at the same time, he was not in same substance as Father, or he was not in Father, or he was not even considered to be as equal to God or even God. That was an argument made by Arius. Must also remember that the area they come from was very influenced by a Gnostic influence, which is the dualistic. Not necessarily dualistic, but it's kind of separating God from the world and the created from the creator. So those are the influence, philosophical influence were already there in that part of the world. But then this picture shows the areas on the left to my side. On the right is Alexander, Pope Alexander of Alexandria, making a case. It's also important for me to highlight at this time that he was trying to negotiate the date of Easter at this time so that everyone celebrate the Easter on the same date. And there were not only Aries, but there were a lot of other teachings he had to engage and encounter, and which is quite interesting. So we come to a point where Christianity began to become more institutionalized faith, religion, and the prophetic movement and Christianity as a movement, which is much more kind of engaging, transforming, continuously changing, holding the different perspectives together, was much more taken into that narrative, trying to find even among a consensus to get that narrative about God and Christ, the relationship of oneness, and also the relationship of Trinity, how this could be in a better understanding and ways that could be established. But that divided certainly the church. Arius was very influential in many ways. And now we see about celebrating Christianity, Easter together this year, because it's important for me to highlight this year 325. Some people say it is in the month of July. We have this Nicene Council happened. First Nicene Council happened in 325, which needs a lot of celebration. We go back in history. If it is in the time machine, we go back a long way. It's interesting that even the Apostle Creed was put together a bit later than the Nicene Creed. So in all these things, the Nicaea was the first ever attempt to put Christian diversity together into a narrative, possibly where everyone can agree together. And also there is a tension between the movement and an institution aspect of Christianity began there. And the movement often remained on the margins of that institutionalized Christianity, which always tried to be a mission-minded, which always tried to reach out to people, the margins, It's always tried to challenge the institutionalized process and the structure and the power which was sometimes used or abused in the name of Christian faith. But then the movement is always springing all the time, even that has reached out to Reformation and even the Pentecostal movement to be a countercultural for that institutionalized religion. But then how do we keep a kind of ways where diversity can exist? At the same time, heresies need to be named, because in the name of Christianity, anything can happen. People give poison to their own church members to kill themselves or bomb themselves. That is not Christianity. So those heresies should be named, and also it should be named as not Christian. Even in some ways, extreme prosperity gospel is not Christian. And in some ways, majoritarianism that goes politically along with in the name of Christian is not Christian. So these are some of the things that come out of the movement all the time as a counter movement to the culture and counter movement to the institutionalized Christianity. We do have the whole aspect of the diversity today, even today, diversity of views, diversity of narratives. But the mystery need to be left alone within the faith rather than bringing those narratives, mysteries of relationship between Christ and Father and the Holy Spirit into a definition of relations, into our mind and knowledge and some statements which will always divide us. So it's time for us to celebrate 1,700 years of Nicaea, and it's always time to celebrate. This is the first time, possibly, that we celebrate the Easter together across the world. The Christians, Orthodox, Pentecostals, possibly, the Anglicans, Methodists, Catholics, and many, many other churches celebrate together Easter this year on April 20th. And so this is a historical year for Christian faith to remember ourselves that we have got since the time of crucifixion and resurrection. The disciples have gone all over the world, spread the gospel, and made a huge influence on the history and life of many people across the world. And that makes even influencing contribution and transforming many lives even today. Like many other faiths, we do bring flourishing, joyful life to everyone. And I think Christianity has special to contribute, and we need to celebrate it as Christians. God bless.